I always turn it off. Go ahead. Mine's on. Ready? Are you counting down? Oh, it's not quite. Yes. All right, we reconvene to open session. Is there anything to report out?
No, the City Council adjourned into closed session for a consultation with the city's police chief. There is no reportable action.
Thank you. Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Farmer,
Here.
Councilmember Lozano,
Here.
Councilmember Campion,
Here.
Councilmember Sandhu,
Here.
Mayor Lamson.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we will stand for the flag salute and a silent prayer. Can I get Officer Slater to come lead us in the flag salute, please?
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Corporal Slater. Do you want to replay the statement?
This meeting of the Galt City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse cable system. The meeting is closed captioned and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Tonight's meeting will air Friday, December 21st at 9 a.m. and Saturday, December 22nd at 9 a.m. The City Council meeting videos are also archived on the city's website. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any library branch.
Thank you. Agenda approval, additions and/or deletions?
Yes, I have several of them.
Okay.
Staff would like to pull consent items J1 and J6 for discussion, to move the city clerk's report to after the consent calendar, and the successor agency moved to before regular calendar.
Do we have to make a motion? No. Okay, thank you. All right, presentations. New employee introductions. We have John Nieuwenhausen with Public Works Maintenance Worker. Is he here? Not yet? Go. Sure.
Mayor and council members, we do have actually 3 Public Works employees to introduce tonight. One is still in transit, hopefully he'll make it here. But I'd like to invite Art Garcia and Efrain Gutierrez to come on down, stand behind me. And if John Van Nieuwenhausen comes in, Judy will send him down this way. So I'll just say a brief word about each of these. Art Garcia, right behind me, comes to us as a new facilities maintenance worker, and it's in our building maintenance division and kind of rounding our team out. He was born in LA, raised in Stockton, so not too far away. He has an electrician certificate from Intercoast College and has been an electrician trainee for 3 years. He's got a lot of family in the Stockton area and is currently working on getting his Class A driver's license and taking some online classes. Art, welcome to the city.
Thank you.
Anything you'd like to say? And our second introduction tonight is Efrain Gutierrez in yellow, and he's one of our newest public works maintenance workers. Started with the city as a temporary worker, and I think we stole him from Parks, if memory serves, and then he has joined us full-time as of the beginning of November. Born and raised in Lodi, and he has his associate's degree in business from Sierra College, and working on his bachelor's degree in all his spare time. And he was a Lodi police cadet while in high school and a community service officer while in college. So with extended family in LA and Mexico. He has some interesting hobbies. He's kind of a cold-blooded creature. He likes reptiles and currently has 20 baby geckos that he's, my mom, trying to raise. So, Efrain, welcome aboard. Anything you'd like to say at this time? All right.
Hey, Steve, I'd have something to say. We're hiring, so, we went through all that.
Well, I did notice one of your students had been in engineering training, one of your cadets, so be careful what you ask. And our third introduction tonight, I'm glad he snuck in. John Van Nieuwenhausen, if you can spell his name, I've got a special lottery ticket for you tonight. He's our other newest public works maintenance worker. We had 2 positions to fill, and comes to us from the Lincoln Unified School District, and also worked in the Parks and Rec Department for the city of Manteca. Born in Ripon, currently lives in Thornton, if my notes are correct. Did some college, went to Fresno State, was studying applied science, and likes fishing, camping, and hiking. So it's too bad that I'm going out the back door. You're coming in. I think we could have been good friends.
Before you go.
Anyway, John, anything you'd like to say? Well, I'd like to welcome all 3 of these aboard the city of Galt.
Welcome. Thank you, Steve. And it looks like we have some blue in the back of the room. So we're going to have the oath of office for a new police officer, James Thomas Sketchley. If you'd come forward, James, or Officer Sketchley.
Nice, you stand right in the middle, face your new public here. So I've said this before, and I'll continue to say this, is that the job of hiring is probably one of the toughest things to do. Looking for the brightest, with the greatest amount of character that is going to get along well with the rest of our family at Galt PD. And so James, through the interview process, impressed me. He's extremely intelligent, and so much so that he is a United States Army veteran. And through there, he went through Monterey's linguistics school, and he is fluent in Korean. So I would imagine that that's not a very easy language to learn, but he was a linguist with the Army for a number of years. So he was born in South Dakota and moved to San Jose with his mom and his grandma. And he lived there until he was 13 years old with his older sister, and then at 13 they moved to Eureka. And while attending high school, he went through ROTC and took some classes from a family friend and police chief for law enforcement. So in my discussions with him, I realized that this has been his lifelong passion, to become a police officer. I'm very, very pleased that you're here. After he was honorably discharged from the Army, he worked construction as an electrician, and no, Steve, you cannot have him. And then graduated from Accelerated College with a bachelor's degree. I won't tell him what it is. So, and then after he graduated, now he's here. He really enjoys woodworking and small projects around the house. He's a very impressive person. I'm really, really pleased that you're here. And now you get to get sworn in, and then we'll pin on your badge.
Thank you, Chief.
I, and state your name,
I, James Sketchley,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of California,
the Constitution of the State of California,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California.
that I take this obligation freely,
I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and during such time
and during such time
as I am an employee
as I am employee
for the City of Galt,
for the City of Galt,
I will faithfully discharge the duties
I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the position of police officer
of the position of police
to
officer
the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
So getting sworn in is as a new police officer is one of the things that you'll never forget. But the other thing that you'll never forget is when you get your badge pinned on you, and you want to make sure. And we've already had this discussion that you have somebody pin it on because you will, and you pick that person so that you will remember that for the rest of your lives. And so, your mom is here. And Mary Lynn Sketchley, if you can come up here, please, and pin on his badge. You get extra points if you drop one.
Oh, wow.
Good evening, council. Hey, everybody in the public. It's an exciting day for me. This is a dream come true, as the chief said. This has been a goal of mine ever since I can remember. It really is just a dream come true. I've always strived for fairness. I've strived for justice, and above all, I love helping and I love serving. And I really am looking forward to serving this community here in Galt. So thank you.
You're welcome. Well, welcome and congratulations, Mom, out there. Public comment?
Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the public may address the City Council on non-agenda items. The public comment section is for the City Council to receive comments. Except for brief responses to questions, no discussion or action may be taken on any item that is not listed on the agenda. Please limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Speaker cards are located on the table inside the entrances to the council chambers. Once completed, forward the speaker sheet to the clerk. Those persons wishing to speak on any item scheduled on the agenda will be given an opportunity to do so at the time that item is being considered.
Right now. All right, we have some new business with JD Version. Did I say that right?
Virgin, yes.
Virgin, okay.
Good evening, council, ladies, gentlemen. My name is J.D. Virgin, And I'm just here to introduce myself. I am the representative to Mosqueda Brothers LLC, a new venture that we have put together, for 803 C Street here in Stockton. Papas and Wings. We're hoping to bring an establishment with some good food, some cocktails, and right now I am looking for the guidance of the City Council in regards to sewer connection fees or capacity fees. We received a bill after submitting our plans of $62,000. Kind of steep. It wasn't in the budget, and we're looking for some guidance. And
Sorry. I was writing it down.
no worries. I did speak to a couple of members of the city, and I was prompted to come here and speak with you folks, and hope that you guys can give me some leeway here with some guidance on as how we can handle this $62,000 so that we can bring this venture to Galt. Thank you.
So to clarify, is that the connection fee or?
I believe it is the connection fee. I did speak with Mr. Winkler yesterday. I'm not sure if you can help me out with that a little bit there. It's the last two items on the invoice. I don't have it with me. I apologize.
Yeah, there are two components to our sewer connection or capacity fees, one for the collection system and one for the treatment. And those two components add up to the figure that he's mentioned tonight. And did discuss with them the basis for the fees, and that if there were to be consideration of some form of timing or phasing of that fee, that it would ultimately require city council approval. Suggested that he perhaps meet with staff and the city manager and see if there might be some interest in making some recommendations to council. But the fees are in accordance with the recently adopted capacity fees that are less than a year old.
So, JD,
Yes.
am I understand this is the building on the corner of Lincoln and C Street, correct?
Absolutely. It's the very corner building. It's connected to the Rock Brewery and the old county building, was told it used to be right next door, an old movie theater perhaps.
Mayor, I'll go ahead and get with Mr. Virgin and discuss with him.
Thank you very much.
Capacity fees.
Is that acceptable?
Yeah, that's absolutely. I'm here to introduce myself and ask for some contact information, and hopefully we can start discussing this further.
Well, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? At this time, okay.
You want to
Information?
items first?
Yes. So you want to discuss the pulled items for the information consent calendar first? We have the minutes of the regular meeting of December 4th.
Yes, before you have a copy of the corrected minutes on the first page under nominations for mayor. It should be Sandhu nominated Lamson. And on the second page, under vice mayor, it should be Sandhu nominated Farmer. Those are two corrections on the minutes. I ask that you accept them.
I actually had a couple things.
Okay.
There was some discussion about the Cardoza subdivision rezone. I think Mayor Lamson had asked a question, and then I actually had asked two questions, and then Mr. Sandhu had asked a question or made a comment, but there was no mention of any comments whatsoever. And I just wanted there to be, I'm ready to approve as is on this, but for future, I just didn't see any comment. There was no mention of that.
Right.
And then also another item where it, Councilmember Lozano had commented about something regarding the rifle range after I did, and there was no mention of his comment either, that he had commented. So,
Right. In the city council procedural guidelines, we actually do action minutes called brief summary.
I'm
So
familiar
if
with
there was no action produced and no direction given, those comments are not necessarily included every time. I'd be happy to have you come in and sit in the clerk's office and go
okay.
through.
yeah, and I discussed that with Mr. Plaza. We're going to approve the minutes, so I'm basically going to approve minutes that that they're missing things that I would have liked to see, but I'm just saying.
Well, in addition, the videos are kept for 20 years.
Right. I know that.
Any more discussion? So can I get a motion to approve the minutes as corrected? Councilmember Campion, seconded by Councilmember Lozano. Okay. Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Farmer,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Councilmember Campion, Councilmember Sandhu,
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. All right, and the subject pulled Cardoza 1 subdivision rezone and tentative subdivision map. Chris Arias?
There was just a typo on the recommendation where the recommendation was to adopt the ordinance that was previously adopted, the 320 Fifth Street. So a clean copy of the front page of the staff report was delivered with the correct recommendation going forward.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? Can I get a motion to approve the Cardoza subdivision rezone and tentative subdivision map project with the corrected name?
I'll make a motion.
Councilmember Lozano, seconded by Councilmember Campion. Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Farmer,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Councilmember Campion, Councilmember Sandhu,
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. Passes 5-0. All right, the rest of the consent calendar. I can read them if you want, if I can find it. All right. Receive and file warrants for period ending November 30th, 2018. Receive and file warrants, Senate Bill 165, Special Tax Accountability Report for Community Facility District for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2018. 2019 renewal of dental, vision, and life insurance contracts. And I believe that's it.
Number 5 as well.
Oh, number 5. Approval of recommended changes to job description for the positions of senior wastewater system operator and wastewater plant supervisor and the revised mid-management and Galt Public Service Unit salary schedules. Okay, can I get a motion?
Second.
Was that made by Councilmember Campion? Seconded by Vice Mayor Farmer? Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Farmer,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Councilmember Campion, Councilmember Sandhu,
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. Measures pass, or 5-0, unanimous. And we're going to P, right? City Clerk's report.
Okay, first item is P1. It's review city council appointments to regional boards, commissions, and committees. The recommended action is to fill vacancies that were a result of the reorganization, or also known as the election. Item number 2 is to consider filling any assignments where city council members desire to be removed from a current position. Item number 3 would be to consider making any other changes to assignments as desired by city council. If I could suggest that we go skip down to the master roster, which details the local as well as the outside agencies, and take them one at a time and review them as city council.
Okay.
The first one would be the 457 Deferred Compensation Plan Committee. Currently, Councilmember Campion's been serving on that committee since 2014. What is your desire?
I just stay.
Okay. City and Schools Together, the CAST. Councilmember Campion was appointed in 2015. We have a vacant position and a vacant alternate position as well.
I would like to be on that committee.
I'd like to be an alternate if someone doesn't.
I'd like to stay on it.
Okay, well then that's fine.
Okay, so I have Lamson as the full member and Vice Mayor Farmer as the alternate.
Is there, you only said there's 2. Like Councilman Campion mentioned he wanted to stay.
That's correct. I'm talking about the new
Oh, in addition to
appointments.
his position, oh, okay, yeah,
Is that okay?
please. Mhm.
Okay.
Where is that?
The Galt Youth Commission, I believe we have a speaker card for the Galt Youth Commission.
Yes, John Gordon for public comment.
Good evening, council. My name is John Gordon. I'm an adult mentor for the Galt Youth Commission. I come here tonight, I just wanted to inform you about a couple of things I'm hoping the city council will consider. I'd like to see potentially a couple changes in the ordinance concerning the Galt Youth Commission. One of them would be rethinking the date of when you actually appoint your adult mentors. Currently, our year is running for the youth commissioners, our high schoolers, from May to May. And so what's currently happening is that we're in a situation now to where we may lose adult mentors that are committed to different projects that may not be returning, which creates a potentially very large, huge disruption. So we're hoping that we could look at maybe changing the ordinance so that the adult mentors are appointed in May as opposed to now, which is, I know, is not convenient being newly elected. It just makes somewhat more sense that we're consistent with the year. The second change we'd like to see is having the adult mentors. Currently, they need to live within the high school district boundaries. We are like to request that either they live or work in the boundaries. Adult mentors, when we've changed ordinance previously, they no longer have voting rights. Their purpose is really to focus on youth development, youth leadership, as our youth commissioners are really focused on how to impact the community and be the youth voice. We're currently in a situation where we have a very valuable member of the adult mentor team that happened to move out of town, and consequently, she's in a position where she's no longer an adult mentor. She has quite a few things that she's taken on with the youth, very valuable things which we need to reshuffle and rethink. So I'm hoping we can have perhaps some conversation about rethinking that, whether the adults, not the youth, but really the adults, if they work or potentially live. So it gives us more flexibility, especially since finding adults that can be effective mentors that have some level of expertise with youth development is difficult to find. In the 5 years I've been on the Youth Commission, we've had several appointments where they just weren't necessarily good fits. People had really good intentions. Maybe they had they had a lot of time, but they weren't connecting with our high schoolers. So I'd like to leave you with those two things to consider as you're making your appointments. Thank you.
Mr. Gordon, real quick. So you and I spoke about this. So the person you were mentioning that is no longer qualified, they moved out of town because there was a family, I'm not going to say what, but there was a family issue that put them out of town at the moment. You implied to me that there possibly would be, like they would be returning to the community at some point. Is that a possibility?
As I understand it, the individual sold their house for whatever reason, and the best living situation was in Lodi. And so that's where her permanent residence is. Even though she works for the school district and is very well connected, with the community. Currently, the way the ordinance is stated, you have to live. So I'm hoping that maybe we can expand that, whether they work or live in the community, so that, people like Jennifer Collier, who's done a phenomenal job in the short time she's been on the commission, could stay, provided, it's at your discretion, obviously. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the Galt Youth Commission, the city council appointment. Councilmember Lamson's been serving on that since 2016.
I would like to stay on that.
Okay. On the Public Safety Committee, we have Councilmember Lamson, well now Mayor Lamson, 2017 with one vacant seat. Do we have any interest?
We have any interest in the Safety Committee?
I will take.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? I'll stay on there then.
On the outside agencies, listed here is the City Selection Committee, but that runs concurrent with the mayor term, which would be Mayor Lamson. The next one is the Greater Sacramento Economic Council, which currently, per the agreement, the city manager serves as the representative, so there's no appointment necessary for that position. The Sacramento Area Council of Governments, SACOG, we have a full vacant position and an alternate as well.
I'd like to serve.
I could be an alternate.
Okay.
Okay.
Councilmember Lozano and Vice Mayor Farmer.
Thank you. The Sacramento County Criminal Justice Cabinet, the previous mayor appointed the chief of police as the designated representative. It is the mayor's designation. Are you still okay with that appointment?
Need a day off? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, in the Sacramento Local Area Formation Commission, or LAFCO for short, we don't have that position come back to us for a very long time, like 2022, when they meet again. Moving on to the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District, both positions are open, the full vacant and also the alternate.
I would be available for the alternate.
I'll take it if nobody else wants it. Okay.
Thank you. Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission. This is actually a shared position with the city of Rancho Cordova and the city of Folsom, and all three city councils would have to approve the appointment. Okay,
Okay.
anybody else?
Do we need more than one? We just need one,
Nope,
don't
just
we?
the one.
Okay.
Thank you. The Sacramento Public Library Authority, this is the position shared with City of Ileton. In the past, City of Ileton has served as the alternate, so we have one vacant position.
Library Committee?
Library Authority
How does that meet?
Second Thursday.
meets the fourth
Fourth
Thursday of each
Thursday.
month at 3 o'clock in downtown Sacramento.
I think on that.
Okay.
Consider it.
Okay.
Put
Okay.
Farmer and then put me down if he doesn't want it.
Okay, Sacramento Transportation Authority, STA. Councilmember Campion's been serving since 2013.
I would like to move to alternate on that if that's okay. If someone
Okay.
else wants to stay.
I would like to serve on that.
Hmm? Which one?
I'll take the STA.
Well, then that's fine. You can have, if you'd like to alternate and you want the seat, that's fine. I'll give the seat. That's fine too.
Yeah, that's what.
Who's that? Okay.
Lozano?
Lozano,
Mhm.
and then Sandu.
Thank you. This is incredibly easy. South Sacramento Conservation Agency. Councilmember Campion's been serving since 2016, and Mayor Lamson since 2016. Are you guys okay with keeping that position?
I'm still good with that.
Especially since you've gone every time, I haven't had to go.
Okay, so the only one I have left open that we have tabled for tonight is the Library Authority. Okay, I will need a motion for this in a second. Would you like me to go through the appointments one last time, or are you okay?
We're okay. Are we okay?
I'll make a motion to approve the appointments.
Motion made by Councilmember Lozano. Was it Councilmember Campen that second? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Farmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano.
Aye.
Councilmember Campion. Councilmember Sandhu.
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Passes 5-0. Was that it for that one?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right, now we move on to consideration of appointment of representation to the city council committees, commissions, and boards. There we go. So as we consider each committee, we'll ask for public comment. So if there's one you're interested in, before it comes up, we'll open it for a little bit of public comment during the specific one that you're interested in, and then close it. Is that all right with everybody?
Okay, and Tina Hubert, the Executive Assistant in Administration Department, will give the agenda report.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. As mentioned, I'm here to discuss the consideration of appointment of representation to city council committees, commissions, and boards. As a result of the reorganization, Vice Mayor Farmer, Councilmember Lozano, and Councilmember Sandu each have appointments. There are also appointments to be made by the entire city council, and Mayor Lamson has one appointment on the Commission on Aging and on the Planning Commission due to recent resignations. So starting off with the Beautification Committee, we have 3 vacancies. Vice Mayor Farmer, Councilmember Lozano, and Councilmember Sandu each have an appointment. The applications received are Darlene Brown, Tiffany Manning. Gail Weber also turned in an application today, which you have received, but at this time does not qualify under the current ordinance. So we start off with Vice Mayor Farmer on your appointment.
I would like to table my appointment on this particular committee pending the outcome of the other agenda item regarding the qualifications.
Councilmember Lozano?
Same.
Councilmember Sandu?
I would like to appoint Tiffany Manning at this time.
Okay, moving on to Commission on Aging. There are 4 vacancies. Vice Mayor Farmer, Councilmember Lozano, and Councilmember Sandu each have an appointment, and Mayor Lamson has one appointment to a recent resignation. The applications received are, forgive me if I mess up names, Sherilyn Kahn, Marie Hall, Penny Niemeyer, and Alvin Roberts, who under the current ordinance does not qualify. Vice Mayor Farmer?
Hold on, is there any public comment or anybody here that would like to speak? You do not have to fill out a card to speak for this, by the way.
Good evening, council people, Mayor. I just wanted to reemphasize my previous comments with regards to the issues of qualifications for these commissions, for the Commission of Aging in particular. And I'm very grateful to you all for taking into consideration the makeup of the current commission, which is me. And anyways, if you have any questions or concerns, you all got an email from me, I believe, with regards to this. If you have any questions about that, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tina. Anybody else? Okay.
All right. So back to Vice Mayor Farmer.
I would like to table my appointment for this commission as well until after item P is discussed.
Councilmember Lozano.
I would like to table mine as well.
Councilmember Sandu.
Yeah, I like to move this, my next.
And Mayor Lamson.
I'd like to table mine also.
Okay. Next, Galt Youth Commission, there are 3 vacancies. Commissioners must reside within the boundaries of the Galt Union High School District. Again, Vice Mayor Farmer, Councilmember Lozano, and Councilmember Sandu each have an appointment. Applications received are Lupe Flores, Esperanza Johnson, Lisa Klotz, Teresa McCord, Sherilyn Miller, and Sam Mitchell. Vice Mayor Farmer.
Hold on, we need, is there any public comment? Yes, Ms. Klotz? If you guys could state your name for the record also.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Klotz, and I am would like to speak for a moment about the Youth Commission and the adult mentors that are have submitted their applications. I again want to follow up with Mr. Gordon's comments regarding the boundaries in which a candidate can be appointed to this position. Looking at what you're going to be talking about later, I actually submitted a card for it, but I think now is the best time for me to speak to it. Looking again at the best qualifications for those people who are going to serve in this particular position. I don't bring this out very often, but several years ago, I was given the gracious award of being Volunteer of the Year. I only bring that forward because I have volunteered in this community for a long time on many different kinds of committees and commissions. And this community has so many wonderful people who are willing to give up their time to work for the community, to give their service to the community. It's harder to get people in leadership positions to lead commissions and help organize them and help move them forward in a positive direction. We have lots of volunteers, not a lot of qualified leaders to do that. I wanted to speak forward to one of the person's names who is not on the list that was called tonight, and that would be Jennifer Collier, who John Gordon had spoken about. She submitted her application. It was denied because she lived outside of the area. I don't know, I've been on the commission for 5 years. We have struggled to get commissioners who have leadership skills, who work with youth, who understand the high school students, who know what they need, who can talk to them in their own language, who can provide them public speaking and developmental skills, have opportunities and connections to get them to different kinds of organizations that are connected to that, coaching, and other kinds of skills like that. And it seems unfortunate that with the restrictions that are put on the boundary of where they can come from, that we are not looking at their actual qualifications to do the job. And I think that that is doing your commissions a disservice, particularly the Youth Commission. And I think that quite frequently, the city goes far and beyond its boundaries to hire qualified personnel and pay them money to come into our city that know less about it than the people who live here, work with the community here, like Jennifer. She's lived here for many, many years. She's worked in the school district for many, many years, that has the youth development leadership certification, the strength coaching certification. And so oftentimes we don't look at those skills like we would when we're looking to hire somebody in and pay them to come to our community. And so I just wanted, again, to point out that perhaps that's something we should do for the Youth Commission as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comment for the Youth Commission? Right. All right. Vice Mayor Farmer.
I want to table my appointment on this one as well.
Councilmember Lozano
I'd like to appoint Lisa Klotz.
and Councilmember Sandu.
I'd like to appoint Lupe Flores.
Okay, Parks and Recreation Commission. We have 3 vacancies. Up to 2 members of the commission may reside outside the city limits, but within the boundaries of the Galt High School District. Vice Mayor Farmer, Councilmember Lozano, and Councilmember Sandu each have an appointment. The applications received are Carrie Graham. She's listed on the agenda report as not a registered voter. After it was brought to our attention, we did verify she is registered as Carolyn Graham. Kelly Keegi, Teresa McCord, and then we later received applications from Sherilyn Miller and Gail Weber, which you've received a copy of, and both applicants qualify under the current ordinance.
Thank you, Tina. Is there any public comment for the Parks and Rec Commission? Armando? All right, go ahead, Tina.
Vice Mayor Farmer,
I would like to appoint Sherilyn Miller.
Councilmember Lozano,
I'd like to table my appointment.
Councilmember Sandu.
I'd like to table mine.
Okay, Planning Commission. We have 4 vacancies. Up to 2 members of the commission may reside outside the city limits, but within the boundaries of the Galt High School District and within Sacramento County. Vice Mayor Farmer, Councilmember Lozano, and Councilmember Sandu each have an appointment, and Mayor Lampson has 1 appointment due to a recent resignation. Applications received are Mark Cruz, Jean Davenport, Daniel Gerling, Carrie Graham, Kelly Keegi, Teresa McCord, Leanne McFadden, Thomas Malson, Kevin Papineau, Matthew Pratton, Richard Tellier, Alexandra Toledo, Jay Vandenberg, and Gail Weber.
Wow, thank you, Tina. I'd like to make it clear, my resignation was due to an election. So it was Paul Sandu. Is there some public comment on the Planning Commission?
Hi, thank you for your time. My name is Jay Vandenberg. You know very little about me, so this is my one opportunity to pitch for the position. I've done troubleshooting and problem solving my entire life, growing up off of Cost Road, excuse me, off a farm, and learning to problem solve when you're out in the field by yourself. I became, electrician later, which is constant problem solving. Anybody that knows me in life, I'm always helping people, always, resolving issues for them. So it's very natural for me to look forward to this position. I also realize that when you're reading and learning about the information that's being fed to you, it's about planning for the future of the city, where you want the city to go, and relaying that message to point the city in the direction that's best suited for the citizens. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Vandenberg. Any other public comment? All right.
Okay, Vice Mayor Farmer,
I would like to appoint Matthew Pratton.
Councilmember Lozano,
I'd like to appoint Kevin Papineau.
Councilmember Sandu,
I'd like to appoint Lee and McFadden.
Mayor Lamson,
I would like to appoint former Mayor Mark Cruz.
Okay, Public Safety Committee, we have 3 vacancies. Vice Mayor Farmer, Councilmember Lozano, and Councilmember Sandu each have an appointment. The applications received are James Connick, Robert Costanzo, Kelly Keegi, Teresa McCord, Sherilyn Miller, Chris Chamber, and Darren Mitchell also turned in an application which you have received, and he qualifies under the current ordinance.
Is there any public comment on the Public Safety Committee? All right, go ahead.
Vice Mayor Farmer,
I'd like to table my appointment.
Councilmember Lozano,
I'd like to appoint Chris Chamber.
Councilmember Sandu,
I'd like to appoint Teresa McCord.
Now to the appointments by the entire city council, and the mayor will need to make a motion to the appointment. For the Historical Preservation Advisory Committee, there is 1 position open, which is 1 member at large, and the application received is Julie Clark.
Should we make a motion for all the other ones first, or just go ahead and do this one?
The appointments by council members do not require.
Okay, that's right. All right. So can I get a motion to appoint Julie Clark at the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee?
I make a motion to appoint Julie Clark.
Made by Councilmember Sandu, seconded by Councilmember Campion. Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Farmer,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Councilmember Campion,
Aye.
Councilmember Sandu,
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. Passes 5-0.
All right, Sacramento, Yolo, Mosquito, and Vector Control District, we have 1 vacancy, and the application received is from Frederick Gethel.
Okay, Julie, I apologize. Was there public comment on the last one?
No, thank you.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this one? All right, can I get a motion?
Motion from Mr. Goffel. He's done a good job. Very good job.
Yep.
Make it second.
Motion made by Councilmember Campion, seconded by Councilmember Sandu. Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Farmer,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Councilmember Campion,
Aye.
Councilmember Sandu,
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. Passes 5-0.
Last is the Sacramento Environmental Commission. There's 1 vacancy. This appointment would need to be approved by the city councils of Galt, Ileton, and Folsom, and the application received is from Thomas Mawson.
I would make a motion for Tom. He served on that for many years and very familiar with the position.
Okay, any other public comment? All right. Second?
I second that.
All right, made by Councilmember Campion, seconded by Vice Mayor Farmer. Roll call vote?
Vice Mayor Farmer,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Councilmember Campion, Councilmember Sandu,
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. That was quite a workout. All right. Moving on to city-created committees and commissions. Review of qualifications, or do we need to?
That's good, you're right.
Okay. We didn't.
This is to discuss and review the committee commissioner qualifications as it relates to the city-created committees and commissions, and provide direction to city staff regarding desired revisions. On December 4th, City Council asked this to be brought back for discussion and qualifications. Within the agenda report, you can see the Beautification, Commission on Aging, Galt Youth Commission, Parks Rec Commission, Planning Commission, Public Safety, Historic Preservation Advisory, and the Measure R, with the city limits, the Galt Joint Union High School district boundaries, and the registered voter columns. If City Council decides to amend any section of the Galt Municipal Code, an ordinance would need to be prepared for introduction and then adopted at a future meeting.
Okay, public comment? We got that. Okay, is there any discussion by council members on this?
I'll go first. So we've had quite a few people speak about this, and basically what it boils down to is that the public feels that they want to have more input. The rural citizens of Galt want to have more input on these commissions and committees, and I feel strongly about that as well. I think that Galt is a community, not just a city. I think that many of the people, such as Ms. Klotz that spoke earlier, and some other people who have been volunteers of the year, do not live in the city limits. So it's clear that these people that live in the rural areas of Galt are very passionate about their community and volunteer greatly. And I don't think that serving on an advisory board that has basically no policy-making powers is a bad thing. And I think if you have a Galt address, or you live in the school district boundaries, whatever criteria that council would come up with that we think is fair, I think that would be a good thing. I also think that in the spirit of consistency, because we have some, such as the Parks and Rec and Planning, that allow for people in the school district, while others, such as beautification or aging, we do not. So it's kind of inconsistent in that aspect. So I would very much be in favor of changing the municipal code to be consistent on criteria that is the same as the planning, for example. I know the comment that was made about Jennifer Collier earlier, I know that's a tough one, because to open it up to someone who lives in different cities, I don't know how we would work that. I would be more in favor of, if someone happened to move for some reason during their term, that maybe we could come up with something where there would be like a time period where if they returned within that time period, they could keep their position, or something where if there's something that displaces somebody for temporarily, that, and they're coming back. But long term, I don't know what criteria we could come up with that. I'm open-minded on that, but these are my comments regarding this matter.
I think on that particular one, I think I would be more open to a member at large. It would then come back to the council. The council evaluates the criteria, and either the person is appointed or not. So if you open it to just an at large.
That's a good idea.
I agree with Councilmember Campion and Farmer, especially since the council gets to interview and pick a member at large. To be more consistent with the municipal code would be favorable.
Yeah, I'm agree with that. Whatever is maybe too large, but also you look them up. If we including too large, I have the experience with planning commission. The council can pick up the best qualified person on the planning commission. Even we have it too large, I don't see last I was in the planning commission, anybody was serving from the outside the city limit. So anyway, one way or the other, the council can decide the best qualified. It might be all are in city limit, might be they are not qualified, then they can go outside too. Thank you.
I just have a couple of comments. I agree that we need some consistency, because even going through this process for me, I've looked at this stuff for quite a long time, but even then, I had to keep going back to the matrix to determine what the qualifications were when I was looking at applications and the staff report. I don't see why we couldn't do up to 2 members within Sacramento County for all of the commissions. The only question I would have is Measure R oversight, whether or not that's legal, because there may be some legality in terms of Measure R as a ballot measure from before. But I do like the idea as it relates to the Youth Commission, having somebody, an at-large member that the council could appoint, which could be somebody who lives outside of the area, but works in the school district or has works in our Parks and Recreation Department, for instance. I think that would be a great idea. So I'm more looking for consistency and also getting some input, like with some of the committees that don't allow for folks that live out in the county that have Galt addresses to be able to apply and be a part of these committees. So I would look to the city attorney on the question regarding Measure R oversight. I just wanted to point that out.
Yes, you're correct that often when a ballot measure is adopted by the voters, there's limitations on amending the ordinance, I believe, and I will double check, but I'm pretty sure that the Measure R has a provision in it that allows you to actually make amendments without having to go back to the voters, with some limitations in there as to the tax rate and things like that that cannot be changed by the council, but I believe that the qualifications for the committee members is something that could be changed by the city council via an ordinance amendment.
Okay, thank you. And I mean, I think there's I don't mean to be the mayor, I'm sorry. But I would suggest, because we're not going to be able to wrap our head around it and get something drafted tonight, but I would ask that staff come back at some point soon to address this. And sorry, Paige, I
That's
didn't
right.
mean to do that.
It looks like we have some direction from staff.
I had one more comment when you were speaking about Measure R that I thought was very interesting inconsistency. So most of the commissions and committees, one of the qualifications they mention is to be a voter. Whether you agree with that or you don't, what I thought was funny is that the Measure R doesn't require you to be a voter, but yet you're overseeing a bond measure that was passed by voters. So I thought that was kind of odd that that was the one inconsistency on that one.
So can we throw that in there while we're revising? Is that what you want?
I just have a question. I'm not familiar with the composition of all of these committees. Are these all 5-member committees or some of these 3-member committees?
5.
I think all of 5.
5, yeah.
So in some cases then, if you do a member at large, are you saying you would do 5 members, each council member appointing one, and in addition to a member at large?
No.
One. My intent was 1 member at large.
I think the two things we're talking about here is either doing consistency where all the commissions possibly have, like Mr. Councilmember Lozano mentioned, where we have 2 members are allowed to be within the school district, like the planning has. So we're allowing 2 positions to be filled by county residents. And then the one caveat to that would be an at-large member for the youth commission. So if we're going to do consistency, I don't know if we should do, maybe 2 can be in the county, but one of those can be at large. So we give one at large to all the, I don't know. We're going for consistency here, but then the at large, I really like the idea of the at large, but I don't know how we'd work that in.
Well, then it comes down to 2. Also, when you look at the appointments of the planning commission, that's an individual appointment. So if you had an at-large appointment there, this entire body makes the decision. So you've kind of run afoul of what I think you really intended to retain. My point was only for the youth commission in this circumstance. I don't believe it needs to be consistent across the board.
Because you do have to have special qualifications and if you've had training. So at large would be voted on by everybody. And these are not voted, we just appoint.
So again, that goes back to each council member appoints one member and one member at large by the entire council. Is that what I'm hearing?
Not for all of them.
Just for the youth.
Right, just for the Galt
So
Youth
would that be
Commission.
6 for the youth commission or 5?
That's what I'm asking.
Five for the youth commission and
With the possibility, so 5 with the possibility of 2 out of the city limits or 1 out of the city limits and 1 at large.
The Galt Youth Commission can appoint anybody within Sacramento County, within the Galt Joint Union High School District, currently, all members.
True.
Yeah, so I think what we're going for here is consistency across the board with having 2 members of the 5-member committees or commissions be within the school district, and the youth commission having 1 of the 5 members be an at-large position. Is that what I'm hearing from you,
Or
Kurt?
work in the town, yeah. What do you think, Kimberly?
Well, it's at the council's direction as to your preference. I was just making sure I understood the directions. So when you were talking about within the high school district, the planning commission has the added provision that it be within Sacramento County. So I just wanted to confirm, as we're putting a draft ordinance together, that that is the consistency that we would be matching the planning commission.
Or do we want to make planning commission in the school district? Because there is some San Joaquin County in the school district.
Yeah, there's an overlap in
little
the
bit.
counties, so that's kind of a quirky.
There is, but the planning commission has the added provision that's up to 2 members within the school district and within Sacramento County.
Because the planning commission doesn't have any authority in San Joaquin
Right,
County,
so
and that's
we
why it was
do
set
have
up
that,
that
so
way.
that's why I'm just wanting to double check that if you're wanting to use that same limitation on the other, the Parks and Recreation Commission does not have that same limitation. It is school
And neither
district
does-
boundaries,
yeah.
not within Sacramento County.
I would agree with keeping that with planning for obvious purpose, but the others, I don't think we need that provision because there's a lot of rural citizens that are interested in other.
Mhm. So how long do you think it would take before we could have this and vote on it and appoint and?
Well, so an ordinance is a little bit longer process because you have to have the first reading, which you
January
go through the
15th.
process, and then you have to have the second reading, which is usually done on consent, so it's a fairly straightforward process at that point, and then it's effective 30 days later. So there is a little bit of a lag. Now, that doesn't mean you can't, after the second reading, start to make the appointments that would become effective on that 30th day so that they can be up and running fairly quickly. Most of your commissions, if they're not, I think the planning commission, if I recall correctly, we now have the full planning commission. You'll have a quorum there. I don't think you'll have a problem with Parks and Rec. So some of those, that the rest are advisory. So it may have some lag in when they'll be able to get a quorum together to meet. So there may be some delay in getting some advisory opinions from those commissions. That would be, but I think I would have to confer with the clerk on when we would be able to get the first reading together. January 15th might be possible. I just know we have some other public hearings that day, so
Oh, that's
we
true.
will do it as quickly as we
Good
can.
point.
Probably not a
Okay.
good day to have that on.
Okay.
So, yeah, I hear what you're saying about the 15th, but just using that as a date, sounds like that may not work, but we would be looking at the 15th to put it together, and then it would come back for consent on the 29th.
We don't have a
No.
meeting on the 29th.
meeting in February.
First and third. So realistically, we're looking at the first meeting in February for the introduction of the ordinance, and then bringing it back for adoption, the second meeting in February, and then 30 days later, it would become effective. But it doesn't mean that once it was adopted at that second meeting in February, we could start advertising.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, I don't think we need a motion. We have
Well,
direction? Do you need some more? What do you think?
If we just can confirm, I think that the direction is clear. So my understanding is that for Beautification, Commission on Aging, Youth Commission, Parks and Recreation Commission, Public Safety, Historic Preservation, and Measure R, once I confirm the amendment procedure to that one, that the change would be that the qualifications for all members would be that they can reside within the Galt Joint Union High School District boundaries.
With the exception of planning. You didn't mention that
I did
one,
not
Eric.
mention
Okay,
planning, right.
I didn't know if you said that one.
And then the member at large would only be applicable to Galt Youth Commission. Is that correct?
And-
Correct.
Yes.
Correct?
So I guess if we can just confirm, is there any objection from anybody?
I would just say that the member at large there may be a member at large. I don't think we need to narrow ourselves down to having to have a member at large, just one of the two that do not live within the city limits can be a member at large.
Okay. Leave our options open.
And the Parks and Recreation Commission has the limitation that you reside within the boundaries and it's up to 2 members. Is that the same limitation you want to see for the other commissions?
I think so, yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. All right. It has been brought to my attention that I skipped over and some people are very excited, to share the reports by city council members on regional boards, commissions, and committees. Oh, I have a little public comment by Gail Weber first. And then Lisa, you're good, right?
Good evening, council. Congratulations to the new mayor and the new city council. And I'm looking forward to working with a council that promises to listen to the Galt citizens. I became aware of Galt about 35 years ago. I was working for Xerox and Galt became my territory. I serviced equipment at BMD, the Ironworks, answered Sue Corey's frantic calls when the copier broke right before the council meeting, and argued with Officer Mark Cruz about blocking the doorway when I was working on the copier at PD in the finance department. I fell in love with this small town community. 10 years later, my husband and I decided to move on to some acreage. I told my husband about this wonderful community of Galt, and 25 years ago we moved in. This is relevant because I would like to ask the council to consider opening up the various committees and commissions to those of us who live outside the city limits but still have a Galt address. I moved into the community of Galt, not the city of Galt. I fell in love with the community, not a city. And just because I live on the wrong side of the sign doesn't make me any less a Galtonian. There are many of us outside the city limits who are vested in the community, either by actions or payment of property taxes. Yet we have been unable to serve on the many committees and commissions. So please consider allowing all of the citizens of Galt to give input into our community by opening up these committees and commissions to all of Galt's citizens. Galt is our home too, and we care about it as much as anyone else does, regardless of what side of the sign we live on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. All right, reports by city council, members on regional boards, commissions, and committees. Vice Mayor Farmer, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I just want to mention that a few things. It's been a busy month, and went to the Cars for Kids toy rally to help the toy drive for the CSD GPD, and that was a great event, another great event. We had lots of people show up, a lot of local businesses contributed. And then on Monday, December 10th, went to the Galt PD open house, which was a great event. Had a great time there. Let a lot of people in the community out, a lot of kids were able to go through, and it was just, I just, the whole concept was really good. I liked it. I saw a lot of other city staff there. Went to the Chamber Holiday Luncheon on the 12th, the end-of-year luncheon. We had some city staff there as well. It was a good, huge turnout. Chambers seems to be thriving really well, and a huge turnout at that. Then I was able to serve at the South County Services senior lunch, and also at the Rotary Community Dinner, which had a huge turnout. I've heard rumors that we had a biggest turnout so far. I don't know if that's true, but it's just a great thing that the Rotary does, and all the other sponsors, local businesses that come in and sponsor that event, such as Cal Waste and others. It's just a great event, and what better way to have people in the community come together for the holidays, and we had tons of city people there serving. We had council members, ex-council members, police chief was there, our city manager was there, our Mr. Winkler was holding up the line with the mashed potatoes a little bit, but and Mr. Rice was there too. It was a lot of people there. It was good to see that many people out there. There was probably no business going on in town anywhere else because of how many people were there. And then last night, Galt Area Historical Society meeting. Mayor Lamson was there and swore in new members of that. We had some fun there, hors d'oeuvres, and played some bingo.
Cheater.
Yeah. So that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Mayor, can I just ask a point of clarification? Because this agenda item reads, a report by council members on regional boards, commissions, and committees. We also have a section that's commented to the city council at the end of the meeting. So are we not reporting, or what are we doing? Because that's, and I understand, that's important information to get out to the public, that we have an agenda that I thought we would follow.
I believe they've had both of these on there for a while.
Right.
So I didn't know the distinction between the two. A lot of, in the past, everyone would talk about what things they'd gone to then, and then at the end,
I know,
they close
it's
it.
confusing because then they talk again, and then they're.
I was confused on that too.
So we don't need
The
to
wording
vote.
of it is not, yeah.
I think everybody, certainly share the information, but.
I remember-
I'd rather stick with what the agenda says and.
Well, Mayor Hugh brought it forward because it didn't used to be there. She brought it forward sooner because there were more people at the beginning of the meeting?
And I think it kind of morphed or evolved into something other than what the agenda says.
Okay.
How I read the agenda is, this section is for the commissions and committees that we have just appointed ourselves to, and then are the comments, the miscellaneous comments. That's how I understood it.
Okay.
Whatever we want to do, I guess we can.
I just feel like
Yeah,
it should
that's the
be
way I
in.
understood it. The verbiage doesn't kind of mesh up with what I've been seeing going on lately. And then the one at the end is usually for future agenda items, not so much. And I think that the reason that we kind of morphed it in was because people kind of tend to leave, and if you wanted to thank someone for an event or whatever, then everybody's gone. So
Right.
I don't know. Maybe we need to reword it.
So what does the council want to do?
I'm fine with the way it is. I mean, I think that's the way it was intended. I mean, I thought it worked. But council can do what they want.
So as it is, wait until the end to talk about
Yeah,
the,
go into the senior.
the community events and things, okay? I'd rather have it at the beginning, but,
So that's mean nothing to report, because we have no,
right, because you guys have nothing to report.
Make committees, yeah. I didn't mean to shut you down.
Shut them down.
They
Yeah,
still talk at the end.
You can still talk at the end. I'd rather have it up at the front, but,
Mayor Lamson, if I may, I was just pulling up the procedural guidelines we do of the order of the agenda, which we revised, I think, once we moved this item further up. So it does use a slightly different language, but it says that this item is city council reports regarding the other boards and committees on which the council members serve. So I think that was the initial intent, and then, of course, you're welcome to change that if there is desire to.
where was it originally?
It
end?
was towards the end of the meeting, yeah.
And the reason why that was added in at a later date is because they have to report out whenever taxpayer monies are expended for a council member or elected official to attend the conference. They have to report out. And so this gives a place on the agenda to specifically report out what they learned at the conference or workshop that a council member may have attended.
Okay. So what's the pleasure of the council?
just leave as is so far, then if we need to change, we can change later on.
Okay. All right. So we are, anybody else? Do you have anything from, no committees? I know the new ones
I
don't.
did have one. I attended a CICOG transportation meeting with Mr. Clarkson, at which time we received a considerable amount of money, $250 million for improvements. And I'm sure Mr. Winter will talk about that later.
Okay. Councilmember Lozano, did you attend any?
I did not.
Okay. All right, so moving on, we're, all right, successor agency. So do I, where are we? So I close the city council.
You're going to adjourn the city council meeting and reconvene the meeting as the successor agency.
I'm adjourning the city council meeting and reconvene to the Galt successor agency, or convene. And we need roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Farmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano.
Aye.
Councilmember Campion. Councilmember Sandu.
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. Is there any public comment about the successor agency to the former redevelopment agency meeting? Any discussion? Nope. All right. Information consent agenda. We need to accept the minutes as submitted and approve the warrants as submitted. Can I get a motion? So moved by Councilmember Campion. Second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lozano. Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Farmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano.
Aye.
Councilmember Campion.
Aye.
Councilmember Sandu.
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. All right, departmental. A resolution of the successor agency approving and adopting the recognized obligation payment schedule and administrative budget for July 2019 through June 2020. And I believe Mr. Tyson is reporting, or Ms.
Actually, this is Ms. Neely. Ms. Tyson is not with us this evening, so I'm Michelle Neely with the Finance Department, County Manager. Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have before you the recognized obligation payment schedule for the successor agency for the City of Galt for July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. This is an annual report requiring approval of the successor agency and subsequent approval of the Countywide Oversight Board for final submission to the State Department of Finance. I'd like to invite Susie Kim of RSG, our successor agency expert, to present an overview of the Galt successor agency itself, as well as detailed information to the ROPS for the fiscal year 1920.
Good evening. My name is Susie Kim with RSG, and I've been a consultant to the successor agency since it was formed in 2012. And just to give you a little bit of background, the successor agency formed after the state adopted Assembly Bill 26, which is known as the Dissolution Act, and that dissolved all redevelopment agencies throughout the state of California in response to a state budget crisis. And as a result, property taxes that used to be distributed to from the Galt redevelopment project area to the redevelopment agency were redistributed. And following dissolution, the city elected to become the successor agency and is responsible for winding down the affairs of the former redevelopment agency. Your main responsibility now is to make payments on former redevelopment agency obligations. And in order to make those payments, you have to request funding through the ROPS. And tonight you're considering the ROPS for fiscal year 2019-20. And the remaining obligations are bond debt service payments, as well as related administration and reporting fees. Also, the use of bond proceeds on projects. There's a negotiated payment to the Cosumnes Community Services District, and repayments to the city for a loan that was issued to the former redevelopment agency, as well as an administrative allowance to help pay for these administrative activities. And for the ROPS 1920, the agency is requesting $2.6 million in obligations, and those are primarily to pay bond debt service. So after you consider the ROPS tonight, it will be transmitted to a new countywide oversight board for their meeting on January 7th. And this is a new countywide board that took over duties of local oversight boards that dissolved as of July 2018. So the former local oversight board to Galt has dissolved and no longer exists. And after the countywide board approves the ROPS, it will be sent to the Department of Finance by February 1st, which is a state mandated deadline. And the department reviews the ROPS with the successor agency and determines how much funding that the agency will receive. And then the approved amounts will be distributed in June 2019 and January 2020. And if there are any redevelopment property tax revenues left over after funding the ROPS, those get distributed among all affected taxing agencies that serve the former redevelopment area. And the city receives a share of this revenue, which is roughly around 20%. And with that, are there any questions?
Thank you, Susie.
Can I call for public comment?
So if council doesn't have any questions, we ask that you go ahead and approve the ROPS, and we will forward it on to the Oversight Board, the meetings in the beginning of January.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this? All right, can I get a motion to adopt a resolution of the successor agency to the former Galt redevelopment agency approving and adopting the recognized obligation payment schedule, including administrative costs for the period of July 2019 through June 2020, ROPS 2019-20, pursuant to the requirements of the Redevelopment Dissolution Act? You get a motion? Moved by Councilmember Campion.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Lozano? Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Farmer?
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion? Councilmember Sandu?
Aye.
Mayor Lamson?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Now I adjourn the Galt Successor Agency and reconvene as the Galt City Council.
You got it.
For the rest of the meeting.
Okay.
Apologize.
Thank you. Okay. All right, I believe, if I'm correct, we are at the city manager's office.
That is correct.
Okay, you're on.
Okay, I'm going to have Amy Mendez present the next item.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council, Amy Mendez, Economic Development Manager. So, Steve, do you have the clicker over there? Oh. Tonight, we are here to discuss the proposed fee reduction and indemnification agreement for the construction of a La Quinta Inn and Suites Hotel. And for a little bit of background, this glorious picture is of the former Royal Delta Motel that had existed here in Galt for many, many years. In 2016, this property went into receivership after the city closed the motel due to excessive code violations and crime-related activity. Ray Patel, the managing partner of Shai Shiva LLC, purchased the Royal Delta through receivership and has now begun construction to it's on. There we go. The Days Inn and Suites Hotel. And so construction started, seems like forever ago, but we're making some good progress. So this is the current condition of the Days Inn and Suites Hotel. Now, this project is sitting at 1040 North Lincoln Way and is approximately 2.3 acres. And so after beginning construction, or reconstruction, I should say, of the Royal Delta, Mr. Patel approached us about the possibility of constructing another hotel on the site. And there is adequate space. And so shortly thereafter, Mr. Patel submitted for site plan and development review on the La Quinta Inn and Suites. And so one of the items that we are here to discuss tonight is actually the construction of this hotel. After Mr. Patel submitted plans, we provided him with a fee estimate for construction of the La Quinta, which is an 82-room, 4-story hotel. The total fees on the project were about $528,000. And after some discussion, there was concern with the amount of fees, and Mr. Patel expressed that he was not going to be constructing due to the fees and the costs associated with the Days Inn construction. And so clearly this is a great project for the city. I think many of you are aware that much of the hotels here that we have, the 2 existing hotels in Galt, they generate significant transient occupancy tax for the city, and that's a great general fund source of revenue for us. Between the 2 existing hotels that we have in Galt, the transient occupancy tax that's collected, that was collected last year was approximately $290,000, and that was from the existing 2 hotels that we have. Knowing this, we decided that, maybe we should take into consideration the TOT generated on these hotels, and on this hotel specifically, and try to determine if there was a way for us to consider a fee reduction of some type in order to bring the hotel to fruition for Mr. Patel. The transient occupancy tax that we collect right now is about 10%, and each hotel collects transient occupancy tax on each stay for every night, for every room. And so that money is collected and submitted to the city on an annual basis. When we were looking at the potential for this project, we decided that it really was in the city's best interest to commission an outside study to determine whether or not it was financially feasible and acceptable for the city to provide a fee reduction on this project. So we did commission a study with HDL. Econ Solutions is an arm of HDL, who is our sales tax consultant. And they put together a study basically providing us sort of the economic impact of what the La Quinta Hotel would have in the community, and concluded that the property tax and transient occupancy tax that would be basically accumulated on an annual basis was roughly $218,000. This would be reached on year 3, which is typically when hotels see full occupancy stabilization. And the report also provided that 8 to 9% return on investment is acceptable for these types of projects. In years 1 and 2, this hotel would not reach 8% return on investment. And Econ Solutions concluded that a 98% fee reduction would be an assistance to the ROI for the developer, and also provided that it was something that we should consider. The project is projected to provide a significant ongoing revenue stream for the city on an annual basis, in addition to the TOT and workforce impact, the sales tax impact from the tourism. And so a lot of times what happens is these hotels bring in visitors who stay here, spend their money at our restaurants, shop in our stores, buy gas here. And so there's a sales tax impact as well that we receive. And so the general fund, just so everybody is clear, will be responsible for this $98,000 impact fee reduction that we're proposing. And the finance director, we had touched base with her to determine what the best way to go about this was. And so I think that this will be brought back during the 2-year budget cycle for City Council to consider. The staff is recommending that council approve the fee reduction and indemnification agreement with Mr. Patel for the development of the La Quinta Inn and Suites. And Mr. Patel is here this evening to answer any questions that you have, and I think he'd like to say a couple of words after any questions from council.
I have questions, Amy.
Sure.
So it's a $98,000 reduction.
Mm-hmm.
So puts it at what is the remaining that the developer is going to be paying still?
So his fee estimate, which I think is included in the city council packet, was roughly $528,000.
528.
So
Okay.
subtract the 98 from that, and that's
Okay.
the balance of the fees that would be paid.
Okay. So he's still on the hook for
About 430.
430,000. And the idea behind this, I mean, to keep people here with the hotels, then the sales tax that comes with that, people come here, they stay here, they're going to, go to a restaurant, they're going to shop, whatever. I get that there's a huge asset to that, and I'm always in favor and always have been trying to do something to, encourage more business. And so my question is, so we're basically we're basically just slashing 98,000, right? And we're doing that because we're looking at a $218,000 a year after year 3 when they ramp up to full capacity. From that point forward, we're expecting approximately that much from TOT money from this hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically, the city's going to get their money back at some point, right? I mean, that's the idea.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think, it's important to consider that the $98,000 incentive that we're providing will be generated within the first year of TOT and property tax.
Yeah. So playing devil's advocate here, I'm in favor of this personally, but I also leads me to believe that we have to be careful to not, look like, I had the gentleman spoke earlier about putting the restaurant in on the corner of 4th at Lincoln and C. So, we have people then coming and saying, well, what about me? I'm going to bring something valuable to the community too. So do I get some kind of break on mine? So again, I encourage, I know we have to look at everything as a case by case basis, but I just want to, be sure that we don't play favorites and we give everybody a clean shot that comes to us with an idea or a business to put into town.
And I think that in consideration of JD's business, that we have to be creative in the way that we go about approaching each of these individually. With the hotel fee reduction, there is a labor code section that allows us to provide a incentive up to 2% of the project costs. And so we tried to utilize that as part of our program and sort of what we were able to allow. This, sometimes with restaurants, you can do sales tax rebates. Sometimes with hotels, you were able to do TOT rebates to incentivize projects. The Department of Industrial Relations has come out with the conclusion that those types of rebates trigger prevailing wage. And so there's certain things that we have to watch out for in terms of construction and the development.
So the 98,000, is that itemized off? Is there a specific portion of those fees? I don't have the chart in front of me. I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong screen. Where we're saying we're going to take the 98,000 out of this specifically, or they're just, is it like out of traffic? Is it out of water? What is it out of?
There's nothing specific that we've identified, and I think that with the accounting purpose, as it relates to the finance director, we'll have to determine that when we go through the budget, to what's the easiest place to take that from and what makes the most sense legally.
Thanks.
Go ahead. Same thing, I have a couple questions. One thing is, we see, the fees reduction is not good for the city. The other thing is, so your report telling if we give $98,000, we get it back from couple years, 2-3 years, right? And the question comes up, what kind of timelines are? So after anybody we give them a fee reduction, we really need to narrow down the timelines. How soon the project will start, how it will take to the project. When we connecting the fee reduction with the timelines, it's that's way city can get the money back as soon as possible. One more, the other question is, I like to, same thing, I believe I asked you guys the question. There is anything we change in the fees criteria? It's come from 1.3 to 5 to 8.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
But I'm talking about like in 82 room, lot of people, but I ask the question because they think, okay, if this town there is 82 or 90 room, it can be impact fees will be 1.2, 1.3. So just for the clarification, why it come from 1.2 to 528?
You're talking about the
Right,
the fee estimate in terms of what the amount is.
Right.
And I think one thing that is mentioned, well, first, in regards to your first question as it relates to the timeline, the fee waiver has built in a requirement that the project has to be, I believe it says it has to break ground within 30 days of issuance of the building permit. And then there is a requirement that construction has to be completed within 12 months, and 2 6-month extensions can be granted at the city's discretion. So in order for the fee waiver to be valid, that has to be considered in terms of the timeline. So it's 12 months and then 2 6-month extensions. And as it relates to the fees, so typically for a hotel, you would see more than $500,000 in fees. We have given fee estimates out for hotels that are roughly $1.2 million, depending on the size of the hotel, how many rooms there are. And with this hotel in particular, the Days Inn has been, the Royal Delta, I should say, was 108 rooms initially. And so when Mr. Patel came in, they've joined rooms. So now it's 70. So, about 38% reduction in the room count. And so that credit was applied to the La Quinta project because the sewer and the traffic impact fee were based on the room count. And so with that reduction, there was a credit applied to the La Quinta project. So that's why you see such a difference in what a typical hotel construction would be in terms of the fees that go along with it.
Trying to understand the map. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You done?
Right.
Go ahead if you're not done.
No, one more thing. This is a good project, and this Loquenta, that's a high-end product, and I like it. This can be more revenue to the city because from the hotel, and they make 10% directly going to the city general fund. I like the project, but its timelines. We need to narrow down.
Yeah, I think we need to ensure that the city is, kept whole and that we are provided with the revenue that we are anticipating as it relates to this. The hotel study that was done by HDL also stated that there would be no negative impact to the existing hotels. Basically, what they're stating is that there's enough demand to absorb a new hotel without creating a negative impact to either of the two existing hotels in town. And we also commissioned another hotel study that I think we're going to bring back in February for discussion as it relates, and tonight we'll talk about the Galt Market property. And what we did was, in an effort to determine whether or not there was a market for additional hotels in the community, we had a study done by HDL which basically stated that the city could absorb 2 additional hotels in addition to the Days Inn. So I think that there's plenty of demand for it at this point in the region, is what both of the studies had said.
Especially current market, whole Sacramento, there is a demand for the hotels, and there is around Sacramento metropolitan. There are around 18 projects in the pipeline in the planning department.
Go ahead.
I just have a couple of comments. I think it's a good project. I read through the entire staff report in the study, and we have a business owner developer that's wanting to invest in our city, and I look at it as an investment for us as well, and I think it's a great opportunity.
I was just trying to understand. So is this on the same parcel as the Royal Delta or the old Royal Delta? Their Days Inn. It's on the same parking lot.
So I think,
I can't see the map. It's hard to see.
yeah, there's a map that's included in the study by HDL that provides the kind of the lot separation.
So it's basically the new La Quinta is going to be just north of the Days Inn, in that same parking lot.
And Mr. Patel has done, or is in the process of undergrounding all the utilities out there. So there was all above ground utilities. That's all going to be undergrounded. Also adding curb gutter and sidewalk to an area that's just dirt right now. So it's a much cleaner look than what the Royal Delta had out there.
Thanks.
Is it okay for Mr. Patel to come up? I think
Yeah,
he wanted to
please.
speak briefly.
Good evening, all. First of all, I thank city for trusting in me. The city manager, previous city manager, Steve, Chris was there, Amy was there, and they had a faith in me, and I'm pretty sure I make you guys proud. Second of all, is to you guys is a fee reduction. To me, is like I approached the same project in city of Lodi, and I paid partial fees too, and I gave the copy to Amy as within 400,000. Believe me or not, I have a written breakdown, and last city council member and a mayor, I emailed you guys the report and bill, and also the study report by Howard University on the hospitality industries, that every transit guest occupant comes in a hotel lobby directly and indirectly spend more than $200 in the city. And sometimes it happens to be they stay in the hotel for a week or two, get hired by city, and end up becoming mayor and police chief. And that's a fact. That's what happened in Stockton. The guy moved in a local motel and ended up in a city, and that's the history. So to to me, I was gonna get this project done in Lodi. The fee was, I already paid 100 and some thousand, and Amy has all the receipts and supporting documents, and was under 400. And my fees was, if I happen not to reduce the rooms by 40 rooms, then it was going over $1 million. And so I'm just want to, I put a desire not to build here and wait for future some other thing, and that's how all these things started. So to you guys is a reduction. To me, I'm gonna be source of income is the bright side. It was a dark hotel into bright with the beautiful light. I'm putting full concrete parking lot and make you just proud of it. The whole frontage gonna be curb gutter. The SMUD already put the line inside and all that. So I'm just ready to groundbreaking as soon as I get a permit. So we're submitting the plan before end of December, and as soon as it takes about 30 days for review and approved, and then I'll be in construction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Especially since right now we're not collecting the TOTs. So the sooner we can get this done, the sooner we'll recoup that and then start on top of that. And I know the hotels in town are often quite full. I've had friends and we've had cheerleaders try to have things here and they can't find hotel rooms at all. So we're very excited to have the new rooms, and I think they'll be full. And thank you so much.
I just want to add one more comment, just because I think it's important that I state personally, I've always been very clear about my standing with development in Galt, and that, it's a very fine balance between keeping our small town feel and charm while also, making our community prosper. Projects such as this, I don't look at as sprawl or anything like that. This is definitely a shot in the arm to the economy. I like the fact that it has a huge, trickle-down effect with money. That this is money that these people that stay in this hotel are going to spend at our local mom and pop places. They're going to spend it at our existing businesses, and that's the money we need. I also look at it as an infill development. I mean, it's on the edge of town, but it's still in an area that needs some development there. It's on an existing place where there's not a hotel, or there is already a hotel. So, I mean, it checks all those boxes for me. So I just want to be clear that people out there that, that thinking that some of us council up here that are new, that we talk about, how important it is to keep Galt, that town we love, that we're not just up here rubber stamping development, because this is not that type of development. This is development that we've always been in favor of, and especially anything that boosts the economy and can help business in general. I'm always going to be in favor of that.
And for it to no longer to be an eyesore, we're very excited about.
Mayor, did we ask for additional public comment on this item?
I did. Is there any other additional public comment? Okay.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is Julie Clark, and I just had a couple comments. I'm very pleased with the progress of the old Royal Delta and the new hotel. It's looking very nice, and I think the whole thing is quite wonderful. So please take these comments with that in mind. My only issue is in the same vein as Mr. Councilman Farmer's, Vice Mayor Farmer's comments earlier regarding consistency. I noticed that there's other places and lodging facilities in town that have recently made upgrades, and those facilities, I'm assuming, did not get the benefit of any kind of reduction in fees, et cetera. And so when I see different things happening like infill reduction of fees over here, and we find out that the bulk of that money, maybe perhaps not in this case, since we haven't seen exactly which departments the money is going to be taken from, and that to me is a little bit problematic, because I'd like to know exactly who's going to be paying for this in the long run. Parks and Recreation seems to have taken a nice hit on the infill development fee reduction, if that goes forward as I've heard it will. And so everybody says, well, it's not really that big of a deal because this is for existing places, and we don't really, it's not for, this money goes to building new parks, and that's fine, and that's why we have no new parks in the last how many years. So that being said, I feel like Galt isn't so desperate that we should be always giving things away at a great deal. I mean, how do you make a resource more valuable? You restrict the amount of growth that happens. Look at Davis. You think those houses in Davis are really worth, $800,000? I mean, I've lived in one before. I tell you they're not. But They are because they have a restricted growth and smaller housing base, and so there you have it. In this case, I would say that I think it's wonderful that this is going to go forward, but I do see another problem I have is the fact that money has already been spent on a study, which we seem to be rather fond of in the city. Let's farm it out and have somebody else look at it, and that's our money. That's our money that's being used to do those studies. So if we don't have staff that's competent to do those kind of things, I understand that, but I feel like before those funds are spent, there should be some discussion about that, and maybe that's something that can be considered in the future. Consultant fees are something that can really impact a budget rather heavily. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Any other public comment? Okay. So, can I get a motion to adopt a resolution approving a fee reduction and indemnification agreement with Sai Shiva Limited Liability Corporation for the development of an 82-room La Quinta Inn and Suites Hotel and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I will do it second.
Okay. Councilmember Lozano, seconded by Councilmember Sandu. Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Farmer?
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion? Councilmember Sandu?
Aye.
Mayor Lamson?
Aye. Motion passes 4 with 1 abstain or
Absent.
absent. 1 absent has left the building. Okay. And now we take it over to City Manager Gene Palazzo, his strategic plan update.
Mayor, members of council, Gene Palazzo, city manager. One of my favorite things in the year is to talk to you about strategic planning. Typically, it's a kind of a 2-year process that we pair with the budget. With our new council members this year, I decided to kind of maybe do a little deeper dive as we start January 2019. So this report in front of you today is just a status update. Last time we gave a status update was in July of 2018. I'm not going to go through each individual item, but I wanted to pull out a couple of items just to speak with you about and kind of talk to you about our process and let the community know about our process this year. Early in January, I'm going to have a consultant come in similar to what we did last year to kind of help facilitate the strategic plan process, interview the council members, ask you a bunch of questions, kind of get your ideas together. Is going to work with staff and get our kind of ideas, kind of group that together. And on January 25th, 2019, it's a Friday, I'd like to have a full-day strategic planning session with the council and the directors. It is a meeting that's open to the public to kind of walk through our mission, vision, values, goals, and the policies, and kind of see if we're on track. If we need to do some course corrections. The idea of strategic planning is for the council to kind of step back, look at that big picture. What I talk to the council and the community about is when you get into strategic planning, you're really looking at the next generation. What is our community going to look like? And what should we be focusing on that, those big picture projects? Our staff, you got a dynamic staff, they're working on the day-to-day, projects, regulations, working with the community, working with the development that's coming in on a day-to-day basis. But this is our opportunity to step back and really take a look at, kind of that big picture for the city. So that's, what, to anticipate and look for, coming January. At that January 25th meeting, we've been working on a long-range, I'll tell you, on item 2, under your improved financial stability goal, it says develop a long-term financial plan for fiscal sustainability. In the beginning of that meeting, we're going to talk about that. We're working on the plan to kind of show the council, take a picture of not just 2-year picture that our budget looks at, but take a look at 6 years out, possibly 10. kind of see, make some projections on our revenue, look at projections on our expenditures, so you kind of get that financial picture before we dive into the strategic plan. The items or the objectives that I kind of want to talk about a little bit, just to kind of plant some seeds before we start our strategic plan process. We've done an amazing job in kind of moving a lot of these objectives forward. And I'm looking at maintain and enhance infrastructure and facilities. Some of the items that you'll be seeing more of in 2019 is the Joint Use Transit Corporation Yard. We've talked about that. We've have had some initial discussions with the school districts. We really need to kind of move that project forward and take that next step. And that'll involves various meetings with the CAST group that you guys appointed tonight. Talking with the council. So I just want to kind of put that in front of you that that's really in our forefront of our minds of moving forward. Walnut Avenue interchange project is a very important project for the community. Again, that's a 10-year project at least to move forward. We're preparing an RFP at this time. It should be issued probably the next couple months, but that is another project that you're going to be hearing more of in 2019. The economic development opportunities, and kind of while this wave is here of development, and we're still having some interest in the community, we're still pursuing the annexations. Chris is just came back from a LAFCO meeting. We have some industrial annexation to 100 acres approved to be annexed into the city. It'll take about 2 more months or so to kind of get through that process before the land is actually in the city. Maybe make a couple comments on that process, Chris.
Yeah, I think maybe caught it in the last city manager update. We did get the approval for the industrial annexation. It's a 230-acre annexation north of the existing industrial park. So even though they approved it at this meeting, there is what they call a reconsideration period, and then there's a formal protest hearing, and all that takes about 2 months. So we're anticipating it becoming final probably at the end of February, beginning of March. It's kind of out of our control and in LAFCO's, but we're kind of estimating that to be the timeline. So we're kind of excited. I mean, this helps balance the new residential growth with some job-producing land use, and really that's the purpose of it, that we were running out of developable land in the existing industrial park.
The Eastview Liberty Ranch specific plan, and then the next item that we've been spending a lot of time putting together community facilities districts for that plan. There's 2 community facility districts that we're working on. One is basically the long-term maintenance of that project area. The second one is kind of the backbone infrastructure. So a developer can kind of come in and basically bond to put in that backbone infrastructure and pay for that through the CFD. We're getting close to working those numbers. Kind of anticipate probably by February, March, you're going to be seeing some more information on the community facilities districts and discussion to kind of adopt the CFDs on that. The Civic Center property master plan, and that was kind of conceived through kind of a kind of brainstorming with staff, with city council. One of my directions when I was first hired is, hey, what do we do with the Galt market? And the Galt market is an active, thriving kind of retail center. I'll say 2 days a week. Revenue, has declined over the years, but it's still, a market that it's still generating revenue to fund our parks and rec facilities, but not as much as it used to in the past. Plus, we've grown. So the idea is, what can we do to maybe stimulate a little bit more revenue from this property? as I was talking with Amy, Ms. Mendez here last week, she described it as kind of peeling the layers of an onion, trying to kind of go back into the history, of this property. What is it that we have to work with? And I'm going to actually have Amy come up and kind of talk a little bit about kind of what kind of our status. We're working kind of a couple ends. It's kind of the status on what we can do, and then how can we master plan it. Chris is very creative. We do have some grant revenue to do some master planning, for this site. So, I think we're getting close to, starting, kind of that public outreach, kind of coming to, the city council and talking more about this project. So I kind of wanted to just kind of, talk about it a little bit more tonight, and we have some visuals up for the council.
Thank you, Jean. So for those of you who aren't very familiar with this property, as Jean mentioned, we had planned on doing sort of a master plan for the site, realizing that it's underutilized. Obviously, the market property is only occupied on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But it's a market that attracts a lot of people, and I think that's the key to that piece of property is the fact that, roughly 300,000 people a year shop here. So they're coming here, this is a destination, and how do we take advantage of that? And so with the grant funding we received, we thought, let's do a master plan and really plan this portion of the property out. What's the best and highest use for the Galt Market site itself, but there's all this excess area that's existing that the city owns, and parking lots, the city hall property that aren't on Tuesdays and Wednesdays are occupied, but really not utilized throughout the week. And so we started the master plan process and we started the RFP process to bring a designer in to really help us identify how to master plan the site with the limitations that are existing as it relates to parks and recreation use. And the fact that whatever revenue is generated has to go back to the Parks and Recreation Fund. And so after drafting an RFP, I think back in July, we thought to ourselves, we're master planning a site really not knowing what the market is. What can the market absorb? Is it retail development? Is it another hotel? Is it something that coincides with the market itself? Is it utilizing the property on other days besides Tuesdays and Wednesdays? And so without really understanding what the market could absorb, we decided to start outreaching to developers to see if there was interest in the property. And just recently, we did come across a developer who has showed interest and would like to pursue an ENRA, which is an exclusive negotiating rights agreement. And so we're sort of in talks right now with this developer to determine sort of what the marketability is for the site. They like the fact that there are 300,000 people that come here on Tuesdays and Wednesdays during the week. There's a built-in sort of customer base for retail and what we can do with the excess property that we have. And so whether it be, I think you're looking here at all of the letters sort of outline the properties that the city owns. And the bulk of it clearly is the Galt Market, G and F. We don't want to touch the sports parks. Those are great resources for us on the weekends and during the week. And so Chabola and the Aquatic Center, but there's property where City Hall is and the parking lots adjacent that aren't restricted. Those don't have the same restrictions that the Galt Market property does. And those are prime retail spaces. And so is there demand for things?
Next slide.
Is there demand for quick service restaurants, sit-down restaurants? And so really wanting to work with a developer who knows this better than the city does, obviously, and doing some outreach to work with the community to decide and determine really what the community wants to see on this property. This slide here shows the overall sort of area that we were identifying, and the colors show the blue is the Galt Market property and surrounding parking lots that are restricted. And so these have the Parks and Recreation restriction on them. The green is privately owned, but, you know, there's some prime freeway frontage property there that has some retail value. The yellow is unrestricted that the city owns, and then the red on the left actually is Fairsight School. And some of the discussions we've had with the school district indicates that this is an underutilized site that they might be interested in developing as well. So looking at this whole area, really trying to determine what's the highest and best use. Is there the availability for us to attract hotels or retailers or quick serve or sit down restaurants, things that, you know, we think that would really feed the market. And so working with the developer right now to come to terms on an agreement, and that's something we'll probably bring back to council in February. You're welcome. I think that was just the two that we have, right?
Yeah, that was it on those slides. So more to come, you know, on the market. We've been kind of, you know, wrestling. There are deed restrictions, you know, that we're kind of working on as well. Let's look at our city attorney. There's, I guess, a lot of hurdles, but I think they're worth, you know, kind of looking into and you know, kind of seeing where we can go to utilize, you know, this area. And really, this area, you know, should be and can be, you know, that economic engine that helps drive, you know, the businesses in the downtown and the surrounding area and service, you know, the residential around that area. You know, when we have talked with, you know, multiple developers and you know, kind of master planners, you know, the attraction, you know, also includes, you know, the senior housing project that we have right across the C Street intersection, and, you know, kind of all the development that is going on, you know, in the area. I
have a quick question, if I may.
Yes.
And I understand we're talking about the strategic plan, and this will come at some other point.
Absolutely.
But I just have a question. So, or two questions. The yellow area is not is an area that's not subject to AB 3773 at all?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's unrestricted, and maybe Kimberly can expand on that if you'd like.
Or AB 3773 had a provision in there that allowed the city, that basically carved out 7 acres. And those 7 acres are the city hall, those yellow areas, and the city's was allowed under that to sell or lease or build city hall on that property. Any sale proceeds would have to go to Parks and Recreation purposes, however.
Okay, and I think that's another discussion for another time. I just wanted clarification on that. And then the other piece is I understand community outreach and how to do that effectively to really get what the community wants. But were there any barometers put out to the community to say, hey, we're going in the right direction, or?
That's actually going to come once we work with partner with a developer, and that'll be kind of probably February, March. You know, hopefully we can come back to the city council, you know, in our discussions and, you know, going out kind of master planning, you know, we kind of have to ground ourselves in reality. You know, we can draw as many pretty pictures and come up with a lot of ideas, but unless we have somebody that really knows the market and knows, what can be, you know, constructed or built on the site, you know, we would be spinning our wheels. You know, so, you know, once we kind of, you know, get, you know, a partner to kind of come in and work with us, then we're going to kind of go back out to the community and, you know, talk to the community and do that public outreach. And, you know, Chris is, you know, reaching for the mic there. So you want to add to that, Chris, at all?
Yeah, actually, the public process in any master planning process is important. So I would anticipate a strong public output in this type of project. I mean, it is critical. I mean, there is a lot of components to it. It's probably it'll certainly be the largest infill development opportunity in Galt because we're not, obviously the main focus is the city property and how we can better use what we have, but also, you know, looking at other things like looking at the circulation pattern to open up some of the commercial properties that front the freeway. We think those are a little bit underused. So looking at, you know, the whole site that they have up there, I think, you know, really could benefit the community. But involving the community is a really important part of that. And we're used to that in planning. I mean, we do that regularly.
Yeah. I would just be real cautious at one of 5 members. Not cautious. I'm going to look at an exclusive negotiating right contract very closely as we move forward, because we may be by contract putting ourselves in a position to not be able to do what the community wants of this master planned area. And I'd be really cautious that, and I'll be honest, when this issue comes up in the last several months as I'm out and about in the community, there's a lot of angst. And I think the sooner that we can get this out and at least get the feedback from the community and do what the community wants, I think we'll be in better shape. I am a little nervous about an exclusive negotiating rights contract coming before, but it sounds like that's something that has to happen in the process. But that document, I think I'm going to be very
and you know, what we're in our discussions, it would be in the form of, you know, it's a feasibility as well. I mean, developers aren't going to come in and, you know, lose money. And, you know, they're in the business to make money and you know, build good projects. You know, it's going back to the council and saying, hey, you know, this is what's feasible. This is what the community says. You know, can we pair that? In our discussions, if we can't come to kind of a conclusion, then, you know, we would part our ways. That kind of a good way to describe
I think
discussions.
I think too. I had some of the same exact questions that Rich had. He's echoed what I was thinking. It almost kind of like what he's saying is like, it sounds to me like maybe we're putting the cart before the horse too. Like we're talking about entering into a negotiation exclusivity with the developer when we haven't even reached the public about their input on it.
Well, kind of what I was trying to explain is our discussions with developer is, you know, and again, they're going to want, you know, I guess some surety if they enter into an agreement, if we can come to, you know, a decision.
Yeah, and
maybe you can explain a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think what I would like to add on that is, and Gene kind of touched on it, is, you know, there has to be some sort of interest in it for the developer. So the developer, as part of that public outreach, will indicate what they believe works. Now, if that contradicts what the public wants, we may have an issue. But in my experience in doing design charrettes for master plans with the community, we get a wide range of ideas. And some are really valid, but some are not. So, you know, as we go through that public process, you start to look at like what is best for the community, taking everybody's recommendations and, you know, continuing that process to fine tune what the needs are of the city, what the needs are of the developer, and then also what are the needs of the community and what they're playing in. And so the role of the council, you know, and planning commission and others then is to weigh all those together and try to determine what is the best path going forward. So the idea is when you get that all together, you then maybe come up with a couple different plans that incorporate all those and then see what is best. But, you know, I think your point is valid, you know, that, you know, you get into a negotiating agreement with a developer, they're going to have an interest. Mm-hmm. So that is something that we as staff will, you know, look into as well.
So, and I think that when you say valid ideas and not valid ideas, I think what you mean is ideas that will pair with what the developer believes is going to work in the community in terms of the business part of it.
Yes, I would agree, and as well as a business part of it for the city too.
Right.
I mean, so you know, we do have, you know, the need to, you know, everything doesn't have to make money. We see this as, you know, really a community center too. So part of what our thoughts are on that is creating a focal point for the community, and those things are gathering points and things like that that don't necessarily pay off, you know, in a tax dollar or retail sales, but provide the community some sort of amenity that, you know, everybody can share. And so, yeah, it's really a wide range. And, you know, you'll see as if it sounds like you've probably participated in some of these in the past, that you really do get a wide range of opinions and ideas. And some, you know, we haven't thought of, well, I'm sure will come up, and they're fun.
Yeah. I think you guys bring up, you know, good point, and in our discussions we'll bring back, I think, an ENRA that, you know, we'll be able to work with.
Yeah, I understand that, but what Rich and I are asking, I know there's going to be lots of discussion on this coming forward, we understand that, but we're just trying to, you know, because there's been a lot of anxiety in the community about this particular subject, and people, you know, just want to, they have questions, and I just have one more quick question. So the 7 acres you're talking about where City Hall sits now, that was not originally part of the 43 acres of the Assembly bill?
It was. Ms. Hood?
It was part of the original acreage. The bill was, when it was amended, then, I'm just pulling up my history from it. In 1982, when it was amended, AB 3773 excluded 7 acres of the property, because that was when City Hall had been put there.
So it was excluded, but there's still guidelines saying that the revenue from that property
It
has
says,
to be
yes, I'm paraphrasing, but the city may sell, lease, or otherwise dispose of the 7 acres if the sale proceeds or rental income is used solely for the development and maintenance of park and recreation facilities on the property.
Okay, so then my question, just one more quick thing. So I'm thinking, so if we were to get a developer interested in that property and we sell it, then those proceeds obviously couldn't be used to then build a new city hall because that wouldn't be Parks and Recreation.
That's part of what we're looking at, is to the extent, what would be within the Parks and Recreation purposes? Is there something, if there's interest as part of this is all obviously part of the strategic planning that you'll discuss more in January and then again in February. And so those are things we'll be discussing in detail. There could be other options, whether it's going to the legislature to ask for permission, like what happened with the flea market, which when they put in the provision for that was not necessarily Parks and Recreation purposes, and the legislature said that's okay as long as the revenues are then utilized for Parks and Recreation purposes. So a lot of that is all that we want to.
Those are all the layers of the onion that we'll be bringing back and discussing. Absolutely, you're right on. I mean, it's going to be a very complex and project.
And I understand this isn't really what the agenda item is specifically for, and I apologize for that. But I did speak to Assemblyman Cooper late last week, and his staff has just sent me over the documents related to AB 3773. And so what I'll do, city managers, I'll send it to you so that we can disperse it out to all the council members and staff to have.
Yeah, we can do that.
And just for the record, what's the date that the meeting that the strategic meeting on January 25th is open to the public?
Absolutely.
Right? So public,
yeah.
we want public input. So
yeah, and the strategic plan is going to be kind of the big picture on all of your goals and what objectives.
What time is the meeting out again?
I don't think it's January 25th. It's a Friday, and I don't think we set the time yet. But I think we're going to do an earlier start.
I got 8:30 to 3.
Okay, 8:30. We'll go with 8:30.
I got 8:30 to 3.
8:30 in the morning?
In the morning, yes.
We'll get a time narrowed down before we set an agenda.
Maybe we should consider making a time where people can attend. I mean, if we need public input, we don't want to, working folks usually gone during the day, so maybe we can discuss that.
Point taken.
At the pleasure of the council, whatever time you want to, we can, 7 to midnight. I'm good with whatever you guys want. So, kind of get back to the strategic plan and the goals and objectives. Just kind of a quick note with Armando and the efforts of Parks and Rec on doing what you're doing with bringing in sporting, making us a premier sporting destination and bringing in the league events. I think they've done a kind of a fantastic job. Still working on evolving that, but we're doing what we can to bring in events. Really, the last item that I really wanted to highlight, unless the council member has questions on any of the other items, is develop a plan for sustainability of Parks and Recs, lighting, cities' lighting and landscape districts. And that was a discussion that we had, quite a bit through the budget process, to kind of tackle what we call kind of the white area. Right arrow. There you go. Look at that. This is a map of our landscaping and lighting districts, and I think it's we haven't showed this map a whole lot throughout the community. I think when people see it, they're kind of amazed. Our districts are not very large. We talk about kind of the funding and the maintenance that we're covering, through with those districts. We have, kind of a fiscal, revenue versus expenses, lines crossing. So, how do we address that in this next year? We really need to, kind of focus on that and try to put together a plan, hoping in January to come back, to the city council, and kind of cement, what our next action is to, try and address our lighting and landscape districts. Really needs to be discussed through the budget process. It's probably a little bit more difficult to get our arms around, with our discussions that we're having right now with our CFDs and the consultants that we're using. We're kind of getting some ideas from them. A lot of it's going to it's a larger project than probably we expected or anticipated when we started discussing this through our budget process. So more to come on the lighting and landscape districts. Anything else to add to that from staff? You've been in all of our meetings here when we were discussing that. Steve, you want to add to that at all?
Well, I think the takeaway, and just for the public, the yellow area is the Northeast Landscape and Lighting District. The red areas are the West Side Lighting and Landscape Area, or pink, and the light blue areas are Lighting Landscape District number 3, which is the newest district and therefore the smallest. Currently, new development has been annexing into Lighting Landscape District 3, and that is actually helping it to become solvent. But the other two are pretty much landlocked. But if you look at the map, it's a lot of what we call white space. There are parks in those areas, and there are street lights in those areas, but those folks are not paying any special assessments for those services as opposed to the colored areas. And that's a large part of the quandary the city's in is, how do we continue to provide these services that are not being paid for? So as part of the strategic plan, I would expect that you'll be having some conversation about how to be fair and equitable to the current districts, as well as being fair and equitable within the areas that are not paying special assessments. The Northeast white space up there would actually be part of the Liberty Ranch and be part of a new CFD and will be colored once those districts are formed.
Just get a big picture, a lot of good components, a lot of focus. It didn't touch upon is, we're focusing on, the organization, the culture. We talked a lot about that, at our last strategic plan, working with our employees, making sure that, we have the training and the resources, going through and negotiating our employment agreements or the labor agreements, I think was, a good step. So we're continuing to work, with our employees. There was one item on here, community education leadership program, that, was, talked about, started doing a little bit of research on that and, how to develop that. I think that's a really great idea. I'd like to talk more, maybe individually with the council, your ideas and see how we can maybe further, develop that community engagement, kind of get our community involved, understanding, kind of the processes. The city council right now is going through at least 3 members, a lot of orientation, keeping you guys busy. And I think you're kind of starting to realize, we have a lot of moving parts and a lot of components in running the city, really dynamic staff, but, a lot going on. So I entertain any questions from the council.
I just have a comment, if I may. I'm sorry. I know. As it relates to the community education leadership program, I've read that number 4 on our strategic plan quite a bit. And I think it's, and again, I know this isn't the time to have a full discussion about it, but I just want to get my thoughts out there. I think it's a little, I think it needs some tweaking. And coming from the perspective, the way I read it is the city or the council or staff are going to go out and educate the community about government. And I think that needs to be reversed a little bit, or quite a bit. I think that may be 10% of what we need to do, so that there's some understanding about the working, moving parts. But I think 90% of it needs to be us listening to what the city wants. And that kind of goes back to my comments about the master plan for this area. And that starts at the council level. It really does. It starts at the council level and the executive staff level. I believe we need to, and again, I understand I'm one of 5 voices here, and city manager and I have talked about this a little bit here lately. I think we need to start, as an organization, start looking at people or our citizens or ourselves as people that have needs and goals and all of that, rather than looking at people as obstacles, vehicles and irrelevancies that we don't pay attention to. I think that mindset needs to change. And when you highlighted that tonight, that piece, it was part of my reading, and I wrote some notes on that. And so I'd really like to, as we go into the strategic plan, really take a look at that. If we're going to use what we have right now as our template, then I'd really like to use that and expand on it, maybe tweak it if that's the desire of the rest of the council. But I wanted to get that out there because it really does bother me that, and again, perceived or real, I've always heard that perception is reality, and so we really need to be more, or at least do what we can to listen to the community as the first thing we do, rather than trying to defend a position that we may have, and that is a perception out there. So I think we're going to get there. I really do, but I just really want to make sure that that I got that out there so people understand where I'm at.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay. There is no communication. I hate to do comments by staff because the chief went to everything. He's going to steal all our thunder. But Donna has one thing to add from the city clerk's office.
That's to remind the community, you have a hand up in the audience.
Oh, okay.
To remind the community that the meeting on January 1st has been canceled.
Yeah, can we have comments on this public? Sure.
Hello again, sorry to take more of your time, but this is a topic I've been waiting to hear about openly in a public forum for probably close to a year, probably maybe a little bit less than a year, and I'm very familiar with the documents, which unfortunately I can't see right now, the map, but so I'm glad this finally came out, and I know that this is something that has been discussed privately, and I've heard references to the former mayor meeting with the assemblyman, and so my conclusions were that there was probably already discussions underway about amending the legislation to allow some type of modification of the rules as they stand at present. Now, pointing to the map before and the earlier comment about the 1982, the 7 acres, what have you, my understanding was that related to the land where the F&M Bank sits. Now, I've looked at all these maps on the assessor's office, and it doesn't seem to have a tax liability. So I'm assuming that the same 0% tax that the city currently pays on all of that land also extends to the property that it sold through that agreement. I'm not sure on whether or not that's the case. It seemed odd to me that it didn't have that. But I was able to figure out which parcels were part of the original Chaboya grant. Now, I don't understand how, in addition to that, we can also consider the land that the Civic Center currently sits on as part of that. But that's really neither here nor there. That can be sorted out later. But we're talking about the highest and best use of this land. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm a citizen. I would much rather see the City Hall, the Civic Center, be the focal point, because rather than a Chipotle or whatever the hell is going to be there, because frankly, the Civic Center is the highest and best use of the land. This is our land, okay? So people moving forward with discussions or plans or making negotiations or even talking about those things without first taking those steps to talk to the people to see what the people want is very troubling to me, particularly when those people that are making those decisions don't even live in the city. So that's just, I'm just going to get that out there right now. Now, the fact that it's just grant money, and we always think of this, it's grant money, it's grant money. No problem, don't worry about it. It's still our money. I'm a taxpayer, it's still coming out of my paycheck, that grant money. So acting like it's not relevant because it comes from a grant is, I think, a very irresponsible way to look at things. And as far as I understand, $120,000 approximately of the original $646,000 grant, or whatever it was, that was obtained through the Department of Energy grant process, is going towards that master plan for the property. And once again, we're spending this money before we have any idea what people want. We're getting ourselves into a situation where once you get to the point where people say, hey, we don't want this, it's too late. You've already spent the money. It's already wasted. So as Mr. Councilman Vice Mayor Farmer pointed out earlier, we're putting the cart before the horse. So this type of kind of backroom decision-making, future planning that doesn't involve the public really bothers me, particularly when we know that back in 2008, they did a study and consulted with most of the public that they could contact or who provided input into alternate uses for the land on other days of the week. None of those were followed up as far as I know. And so where there seems to have been a genuine interest to actually find out what people wanted, that just all fell by the wayside. And so now we're going to move forward with what we want to do, and then we're going to use you, or we're going to see you as an obstacle to negotiate with or around once we've already gotten into some kind of an agreement with a developer to give them some interest or they've expended funds towards this project. So going forward, I really hope that this council is much more on top of, and I'm so grateful to have the comments tonight about this, and many of my concerns have also been echoed earlier in the evening, and it really makes me feel good to know that we have a council who is looking to the citizens for direction, because we're your boss. I mean, that's what it is. You answer to us, they answer to you. That's the way it works. So that seems to have been forgotten in the scheme of things, and just because someone claims to have sophistication of degree or experience in a certain field doesn't mean that the citizens don't have valid input. So we're the ones that have to live here. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate your comments. I'm hoping when we do have these meetings with the public input that we will get some public out there. So hopefully we can get the word spread and maybe have multiple times to meet some of the needs. Any council have any other comments on that? All right, staff comments. Since it is Mr. Winkler's last time with us, we have the timer set. We're going to let you go first.
Do I get extra time because it's my last opportunity?
10 seconds.
What do you consider extra?
I just have one piece of business and then a thank you. It was alluded to earlier that staff have been working hard, and former council member Cruz, as a SACOG director, was instrumental in helping us move forward some grant applications, and then Kurt has slipped out, but he was able to, with your temporary appointment, help represent us, and the Transportation Subcommittee for SACOG has recommended that we receive a $2.5 million grant to continue the C Street Complete Streets project. The primary emphasis of that will be between Civic Drive here next to City Hall up through 6th Street to sort of make that a tie-in with the other improvements that have previously been done. And so that it will be for construction funding. That funds only about 60% of the proposed project. So we'll be having to bring forward some recommendations through the budget process in the CIP program for, possibly use of Measure A funds or SB1 funds that could be paired up to leverage those grant funds, or we might have to trim back on the project to be able to deliver the available grant funds. But that funding will be available in a couple of years. but there will be a lot of public outreach as to what the impacts and parking and dealing with the businesses. But it'll be a good project. It'll sort of be the next big thing as far as a capital improvement project for the Public Works Department to bring forward. And you're in capable hands with Mr. Clarkson leading that team that'll be doing that. And then my closing comment would be that this is my last official meeting as your Public Works Director. I'll be fading into retirement, still have an interest in some of the things that are going on in the city, and so it might not be the last time you see me, but it will be the last time I'll be here as your Public Works Director. And I just want to say it's been a pleasure to serve. Jason Berriman made a comment when he was leaving city employment that, you know, hey, you guys took a risk on this young guy, speaking to the council, and he appreciated that. Well, he sort of took a risk on this old guy, and trying to move on down the trail, let these younger guys pick up the battle axe and move forward. But the council has been very supportive. We've had a great opportunity to, I think, do some good things for the city, and staff get all the credit for those things. And it's just thank you for supporting us in our efforts, and good luck with the future.
Wow. Well, I just want to say publicly that I have enjoyed having you in this position. The Winklerisms blow my mind, where you come up with these things. And you're just brilliant, and you've come up with so much stuff and manage your staff, and it's just been wonderful having you here. We're going to miss you. We hope maybe you'll come and bug Mark a little bit and make sure he's getting everything done how we need to get it done. And thank you for your service.
I would just like to congratulate all the appointees on the committees and commissions. Community development has a good fortune of having three. We have obviously the Planning Commission, the Beautification Committee, and the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee. So I'm excited that we have some new members coming aboard, and look forward to working with all of them. And have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas. We'll see you next year.
Mark? Amy? Cora? What's out there?
All right, so we have positions. We have plant maintenance mechanic, police officer, public works director, and public works maintenance worker 1. I encourage anyone that is interested to go to the website and apply. I also want to congratulate Steve on his retirement. I wish you all the best. You will be missed.
Mr. Solis?
That's the third time somebody called me Mr. Solis. I don't know about that. I do have a couple things. Wanted to notify you that the Monterey Dog Park will be closed on Friday, December 21st for some maintenance issues. And also a long standing Commission on Aging person, Aggie Hanchey, passed away last Friday. She will be having a celebration of life on Friday from 4 to 8 at the Estrelita Ballroom. And since it's Mr. Winkler's last meeting, I'd like to put the skunk on the table. And, you know, although it's hard to hit a moving target, some Winklerisms, I think you did a great job, and it's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you. Chief?
I want to comment about Steve Winkler first. Is somebody said today that we're going to put a timer on him on his closing comments. I really wish we had one of those in our staff meetings. That's my Winklerism. He was the first one to welcome me in our department head meeting, and we've had an amazing relationship, and you're going to be missed, Steve. On the PD side, it's been incredibly busy, but the PD staff has been fantastic. Our open house was the huge success. We had 400 people show up, most of them kids, and we had Santa Claus there and dogs and the Polar Express theme. It was a fantastic event, and we're looking forward to doing that every single year. So that's Sabrina Lamson and Val Heilman, who that was their brainchild, and they put that all together on their own. We had the toy drive this past weekend, and it was incredible working with CSD folks, TJ Gadati and all of his efforts. I just couldn't do it without him. He's an amazing asset to the city. The community dinner was fantastic, serving, and if anybody in the community hasn't gone to that, that is probably the best holiday meal ever. Better than anything I had in years past. The quality of food is fantastic, and same thing with the senior lunch, and that was the food was incredible. And then we had our annual awards ceremony honoring the of the years and the 6 separate life-saving awards. Credit goes out to our staff. Where I came from prior to coming here, probably in my 18 years, we probably gave out maybe 6 life-saving awards. Here in Galt, we arrive on scene, we go to all medical calls, when there's somebody in need like that, and our staff just does an amazing job of saving folks. And when you're earning, or when you are awarded that life-saving medal, it's because of your efforts, and a doctor or medical professional said if you didn't do what you did, the person would surely have died. And so each one of those 6 separate instances, somebody's life has been saved because of the efforts of our police officers. So I just want to publicly thank them. And then finally, we ran some statistics. Traffic seems to be a big concern. A lot of discussions on Carillion Boulevard and a number of other places throughout the city. And just to comment on that, so we have been doing a lot of extra work, especially in the first 2 weeks of December. And so just to put things in perspective for the community and for council, for the first 2 weeks in January, we made 183 traffic stops, wrote 126 citations, 43 of those were moving and 17 were non-moving. That would be like equipment violations. Made 7 DUI arrests, and of that, 64 of those 64 separate instances where the officers were directed to go out to a specific location to address a specific citizen concern. As an example, Carillion seems to be one of the biggest complaint locations. And so we sent out our radar, our LiDAR units, and point them in both directions. And the speed of the people that are on that roadway is the same as what the speed survey says. And the average speed was 46 miles an hour. It's a 45 mile an hour zone. So sometimes it's really interesting is sometimes when you get the perception of speed, it is because of the design of the road. So you have that long straightaway and you can see long directions and it seems like it's going a lot faster. So, but we're going to continue our efforts out there. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is, and giving our staff the credit they deserve is in 2016, we had 2 full-time traffic officers, and currently we have 1 part-time traffic officer. And if you take a time frame from 2016 to now, for the same 3-month period that we ran this study on, we have the same amount of citations being issued as when we had 2 full-time traffic officers. And that's because our officers are out there not only responding to calls for service, but taking a proactive approach to making sure the citizens are safe through traffic enforcement and other proactive measures. And then if you run a study throughout, when we're running our statistics, when I reported on our annual report last year, our officer-initiated activity is second to none. We almost equal the calls for service coming through dispatch and our officer-initiated activities almost equal, and that's consistent throughout the years. And so our officers are proactive, they're working hard, and they just do an amazing job every single day out there. So anyway, thank you to all the council for the support, and thank you to all the Galt PD officers for their efforts.
Should have set the timer there. Gene?
Yeah, we'll kind of pass that timer on to Chief Sockman from Mr. Winkler. I guess, yeah. So first of all, I want to appreciate Steve Winkler, and one of the things that I have always admired on your work is your analytical ability to really kind of analyze projects and things that come to us as staff. I know that it probably drives some of us a little bit crazy, but I have always appreciated that because it, really takes a look at a different side of the projects and things that we need to work on. I always admire that. The one of the projects that we did work on, kind of Steve and I together, that I really knew that how efficient and good Steve is when we had to go to auction to purchase some property for the city, for the Walnut interchange. Probably the most stressful process that I've ever been involved with, but I was really pleased that Steve was by my side and we're working together to make that happen. And I didn't realize at this point I'd have a council member that was in the audience bidding against us. But it was it was quite a process. Learned a lot, and we worked well together, and I appreciate everything you've done for the city, and wish you well in your retirement, and you'll be missed. So, and I want to just thank all the members of committees and commissions that were appointed. We look forward to working with them and the city council in 2019. Have a great Christmas, and we're going to have a lot to do come January.
Ms. Kimberly?
I just wanted to thank Steve also. He works very hard. He's very diligent, and he will definitely be missed. So it's well earned. I hope you get to enjoy it. And happy holidays to everybody, and happy new year. And we're looking forward to a very good coming year.
Do you have anything, Donna? No. All right. And now council members.
I have just a couple of things. First of all, Mr. Winkler, I haven't known you for a long time, but you have taken the time to sit down with me over the last, year or so, maybe a little less than a year, and try to help explain things. And sometimes I don't always get it the first time, but your explanations of questions I had were amazing. And thank you for your service to the city, and wish you well in retirement. The one thing that I didn't mention is earlier when we were talking about the strategic plan and moving forward is I just wanted to point out, and sometimes it's just, I just assume things are automatic because of my experiences, but I don't know if they are. And so I just want to make sure that as we move forward in the strategic plan process, that our employee organization leadership is invited, by the council to be a part of this strategic plan process. And because I think that's important to have the employee input as well. I think Vice Mayor Farmer took all my thunder of the events that we went to, but I want to congratulate the new employees that were introduced tonight and the officer that was sworn in. I think that's great that people want to come work here because we are a great little place to live and work and play, and so it's kind of nice. I want to thank Chief Sockman and his group and the Cosumnes CSD Fire Department for the toy drive. It was absolutely amazing. TJ and Laurel did an excellent job putting that together and gathering up volunteers. I saw more volunteers to help hand out toys this year and more volunteers to collect toys this year than any year past. And I think that's because the two organizations working well together to serve the community. And so thank the staff, Chief, on for me because they did an excellent job. And then just one last thing, and then I'll be done. The community dinner was great. I am a proud Rotary member, and so I'm going to brag a little bit. We had Rotary members working on this for months at a time, but most recently for about the last 2 weeks, and we're collecting donations at the local grocery stores, as well as preparing turkeys on Friday night for, 2 or 3 hours, and then there was a group that was there at about 5:30 in the morning to help begin to cook and barbecue 108 turkeys for the community. And one thing that wasn't pointed out was that food doesn't go to waste. If we would have had 500 people come, that would have been okay. But I think the count was probably around 1,300 plus about 400 deliveries where we had volunteers going out and actually delivering the food to the community. It was an awesome event, and I want to thank the council members and staff for coming and supporting that event. And then just lastly, everyone have a wonderful holiday and a safe new year.
Thank you. Paul?
Okay, first of all, I would like to congratulations to Steve Winkler, his honorable retirement. And I know I was his position 9 years ago. There is a lot of difference when you work with somebody and when you retire. And I know he enjoyed it, and we met as a department, as a city of Galt. I like to, again, congratulations your retirement. I would now like to repeat, because this week, a lot of events, and I can say that I attended almost all the events. I see you guys out there, and that's excellent. All the events was excellent. At the end, I like to say everybody to Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, and Happy New Year. Thank you.
So do you have anything to add?
Just real quick. So, yeah, I forgot to mention that I was able to speak at the Galt PD banquet. Mayor Lamson wasn't in town, so I had to speak, and so it was great. It was really nice to see an event where Galt's finest were honoring its finest, and so it was a good event. My wife and I attended. It was great. And real quick, I wanted to reach out to Armando. You know, for those of you who don't know, we have a 150-year celebration for Galt coming up next year. This is kind of a one-shot deal. It's kind of a big deal in my eyes. I was at the Historical Society meeting last night. There was a lot of discussion about it. There's been a lot of discussion with the chamber about it. And I would like to, maybe talk after the first of the year about maybe putting some kind of group together, maybe with Armando, maybe somebody represented from the chamber, somebody represented from the Historical Society, and throw some ideas around about what we can do to do something. Maybe you can piggyback with another event, but we need to do something to honor the 150-year anniversary of Galt. So it's a big deal, and I think that we have a lot of resources out there we can do something. So maybe we'll catch up after the first year and kick some ideas around. And lastly, to Steve. You and I butted heads a lot. Sometimes before I was, serving, when I would go up and speak at the podium, he was the target of some of my speeches and such. But I tell you, when I was in my orientation with Public Works with he and Mr. Clarkson, I can tell that he really enjoys what he's doing, because I had questions, and he was, when I would ask a question, I could tell that Mark, was like, the meeting was really long, so Mark's like wanting to get through the meeting, and Steve's like, oh, it's a great question. And he'd go, and he's very on to elaborate, very thoroughly on it. And so it's not many times I come across somebody who speaks more than me, except for the chief and Winkler. You two guys got me, giving me a run for my money. So, but congratulations, Steve, and hopefully you enjoy your retirement. And lastly, just for everybody out there at home watching, and those of you here, hope you have a good Christmas and be safe. And we'll see everybody next year.
Thank you. Well, I have to tell you, us four, I feel like we've spent the last 2 weeks together. We've been at everything. Congratulations to you for the cars and toys. That was a farmer thing, and thanks for the chief for coming. Lots of cars and toys. I had the pleasure of swearing in the chamber officers at their Christmas luncheon, and Sean said the Historical Society officers. I kind of threw a little, and I'll support the council in their little pledge while they were repeating. And the employee lunch was really nice to see the longevity and the people that have been here 25 years and 5 years and honor all that. And then the police open house was phenomenal. The officers, just the way the officers had their little train horns, they were blowing them all over the department. And did you get those back, or they? No. So it was just fabulous. So once again, Winkler, it's been wonderful. Does anybody need anything added to the agenda that they wanted to? Okay. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Meeting adjourned.